Hello, hello, hello. It is I, the one, the only, Mitch. Today we are featuring a list especially dedicated to indie game studios. We have handpicked the best indie games of all times for you, which put the big AAA billions of dollars worth studios to shame. Picking only 10 games was difficult, but we did our best to include the most recent and notable ones. In no particular order, let's start with our first game. Coming in first, Stardew Valley, from developer Concerned Ape and available on all platforms. This is basically the work of one man that made a whole lot of men and women around the world feel fuzzy and warm, selling far more copies than the biggest AAA titles out there. Stardew Valley is beautiful in its simplicity, but deadly in its addictiveness. Before you even know what's happening, 4 months have passed and you're only just regaining consciousness from its grip. A game so good that gamers of all ages enjoy this adventure. Best thing, you can approach Stardew Valley at your own pace, so whether you want to leisurely maintain your farm or go off on adventures, the choice is yours. In a world that never seems to shy away from conflict, the escapism provided by Eric Baron's gem cannot be underestimated. If you're feeling friendly though, the multiplayer mode might help you socialize. This game is truly a pillar among not just indie games, but all games across all platforms. Coming in next, Hades. From developer Supergiant Games and available on PC and Switch, Hades is a roguelike RPG with a different approach on dying and a very polished game at its core. It boasts the kind of attention to detail that most AAA games could only dream of. Hades casts you as Zagreus, the son of Hades, who is trying to escape from the underworld. But it's just as hard as it sounds. Don't be deterred by your failures. Hades is the kind of game that actually makes it fun to die, thanks to how much there is to see and people to talk to during the downtime. It also helps that its combat is best in class, and it just keeps evolving once you do manage to escape from the underworld. Expect to be playing Hades for 100 hours, and even then, that's being conservative. Overall, this is an award-winning RPG adventure at its best. Up next, Rocket League. This one needs no introduction. From developer Psyonix and available on all platforms, Rocket League is a very simple and very fun soccer game where you play with rocket-powered cars. The successor to the very underrated supersonic acrobatic rocket-powered battle cars watched the social network, realized that cleaner is better, and became Rocket League, a true gaming phenomenon created by a small team of developers known mainly for freelance work on AAA titles. The proper marketing made Rocket League explode overnight, turning a huge amount of profit for an independent company who were afraid of failure after their last game struggled to even surface. At its core, Rocket League is about hitting huge balls with a car. But when you're playing with other people, its true depth breaks through and allows it to shine. Technically, Psyonix is no longer indie after being purchased by Epic Games, but the Rocket League still deserve its place in the best indie games ever for the impact it had. Coming in next, Limbo and Inside. By the developer studio Playdead, and for various platforms, these are two different games, not one. Yes, Limbo came first, then Inside, released after a few years. These are a bit similar but very different games from the same developer. It's hard to choose just one of the pair that's more deserving of attention over the other. As prettier as Inside looks, Limbo's simpler aesthetic is also just damn appealing. Fiendishly challenging puzzle games, both Inside and Limbo go to dark places and almost drag along the player begrudgingly through its many horrors. Both games have no interface, no dialogues, almost no characters either. But still, they are so intense, challenging, and starkly unique. Playdead represent a lot of what makes the indie industry so appealing with these two modern masterpieces. Coming in next, FIREWATCH. By the developer Camposanto for all major platforms, it's more like a casual movie adventure than a game, but very immersive and realistic. Polarizing ending aside, it's hard to claim that this adventure game did so much in its simplicity and conversations. FIREWATCH checks almost all the boxes of what you want from indie games, and then some. You won't be leaping from buildings and shooting lasers, but you will still be enthralled by following your compass. Thanks to its peaceful surroundings, superb voice artist performances, who should be getting more work as a result, just like me, and a slowly unspooling narrative that drives things forward. Taking a trip to the great outdoors never sounded so good. It's even being made into a movie soon. Up next, Bastion. From popular developer Supergiant Games and can be played on all major platforms, this is one of the classic best indie games to date. It's an isometric, visually enthralling title. Bastion charmed critics and gamers alike with its brilliant story and art direction. The big winner, for many, however, was the game's narration, something which could come across as cliched elsewhere. But here it provides a fine example of why we should never take voice actors for granted. Supergiant Games is certainly no name today, but their first effort, Bastion, still remains their best work to date. They're unlikely to ever top it, which isn't meant as an insult. Most of other developers wouldn't be able to either. Up next, Shovel Knight. It's from developer studio Yacht Club Games and available to play on all platforms. One of the few Kickstarter success stories, Shovel Knight is a pinnacle for what good crowdfunding can do for indie games. Without the right platform for funding, we may have never been able to get our hands on one of the greatest ever side-scrollers in recent gaming history. The devs have also repaid that kindness with constant free updates that adds hours of new gameplay to game. Despite being a game cultivated from many different inspirations, Shovel Knight managed the remarkable feat of feeling old while also brand new. Difficult, but never unfair. Yacht Club Games' debut needs to find its way onto your wishlist if you're yet to find out what all the fuss is about. A must-play game for every platformer genre fan. Up next, Hollow Knight. That another Metroidvania lands on this list of the best indie games shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. From developer team Cherry and available on major platforms, Hollow Knight is one very polished, twisted, and visually stunning platform adventure. It was also kickstarted for a very small amount, but the developer made the game worth millions. Even a sequel is going to release this year. When you die, your items aren't lost for good, you just have to slay your own ghost. An interesting mechanic, and one of the many which make up Hollow Knight's big spectacle. It's a given that Hollow Knight will push you to the limits of your patience with punishing bosses and a learning curve like the edge of a cliff. But it's worth sticking with to discover the mysteries of its sumptuous world. An absolute gem for hardcore Metroidvania lovers. Coming in next, Subnautica. From the developer Unknown Worlds and can be enjoyed on all major platforms, this is one underwater survival adventure game. Mostly, water levels in games are bad, blocky bodies. So, when a game is almost entirely water-based exploration, you might be right to approach it with caution. Luckily, Subnautica really nailed the feel of exploring the depths in one of the most inviting and original survival games that's come along in a long time. An early access graduate, Subnautica drops you on the alien planet with nothing but some flippers, a snorkel, and a life pod for refuge, while also staying aware of what lies beneath the surface. That's kind of apt for the game in general. While it may look like any other survival game on the surface, just try it for a few hours and you will find that it's much more than just that. Last on our list, but definitely not least, CUPHEAD. From small studio MDHR and available on all major platforms from PC to Switch. It is one hell of a nostalgia adventure. One of the most exciting indie games at the time of initial release on Xbox One. CUPHEAD's early Disney style belied the truth. This was not meant for kids. While you could argue that this run-and-gun platformer was not much harder than many of its inspirations, but that didn't stop a legion of gamers from putting themselves through hell and back to save CUPHEAD's soul from the devil, and loving every second of pain which you can share with your co-op partners. Thanks to its gorgeous hand-drawn animation, watercolor backgrounds, and even an original jazz soundtrack, CUPHEAD has gone down as one of the biggest success stories, not just in the indie sphere, but the whole gaming industry. And with that, we wrap up our list of best indie games of all times. but 2022 updated. If you liked the video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel to see more content like this one. See you next time.